What's the highest paid genre in TV and film right now? Most creators are just guessing, but brands are not. They're dropping 6 figures on 30 seconds worth of audio, and the Super Bowl is the cleanest signal as to seeing where that money is actually going. So I sat down and studied over 200 Super Bowl ads so that you could sit back and watch the game. I didn't just listen to what people thought was cool. I tracked meticulously everything that the music actually was doing. Then I compared those ads with the yearly downloads report from one of the top music tools in the country. One shows what brands use and the other is showing what creators are actually making. And today I'm going to give you the top 4 genres moving the needle in 2026, and the last one is going to do it for sure. I can almost guarantee it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what brands are buying and where you fit. That way you can stop guessing and start building on demand. So I stopped chasing a vibe, so to speak, a long time ago when I wanted to get more of my music into TV and film. I was sending out really polished tracks, but they weren't getting licensed as often as I'd like. So I had to reverse engineer what actually worked. And here's what I found. Brands don't buy music. They hire solutions. The sounds that they use normally change every year, but the problems that they were actually solving, they stay the same. Every track I got licensed since then solves at least one of these 4 specific jobs. I call it the j.o.b.s framework. Job, objective, brand safety, and space. And once you understand these 4 jobs, you'll never send music blind again. So let's break it down. Where most producers and indie artists get stuck, they understand the idea, but they don't know how their music actually passes this test. And the biggest problem is that you're not one track away, you're one connection away. This is exactly the kind of stuff that we break down inside our private community called the Sync Alliance, where we share in-depth breakdowns of what's actually working on TV and film. You get weekly coaching from me and my team and real feedback from industry players placing music on shows and brands like these. It's screen-to-screen access that most people will never get in their lifetimes. Instead of sending your music out into the black void of a no-reply email inbox, you're getting real responses from real people who can actually place your music. That's the room you need to be in. Producers and artists are getting their first sync deals within their first 90 days. Link in the description. So here's the first mistake that music producers and indie artists make. They think brands want energy. But in a world full of AI slop, perfect energy is cheap. What brands can sometimes actually want is room. Think about the difference between a cluttered room and a high-end showroom. The same square footage, but they feel completely different. Space, which is the S in the j.o.b.s framework, makes something feel expensive. This is why Afro House, our first genre, is seeing a 778% surge when it comes to popularity. It's built on percussion, repetition, and restraint because the groove moves without fighting for attention from the listener or the viewer of the commercial. That's what gives brands space for narration, dialogue, and different product moments they might have. So Afro House wins because it solves the space problem better than most things right now in the game. You get breathing room that doesn't feel empty, and you also get a premium vibe without demanding the spotlight. So when you're making Afro House, you want to make sure that the build is clean, keep the low end nice and simple, and leave gaps on purpose. When brands need room to talk, Afro House is definitely the call for 2026. If Afro House solves the space problem, luxury, lifestyle, travel, it creates all this room. But a tech company, for instance, if they're launching a new exciting app or a sports brand selling performance gear, they want the opposite. They want momentum, right? And sometimes you can't get that with all that space. They need something that makes you feel like you're moving fast. And that's a completely different job that needs a completely different sound. Now, here's the problem though. Most music producers and indie artists confuse speed with aggression, whether that be with saturation on the vocals or just a lot of fast moving parts. But brands don't. Think about a sports car versus a heavy duty truck. The truck is super loud and forceful, and the sports car is more of a fast yet controlled machine. Brands want motion without stress. This is why the next genre on my list is speed garage, and it's showing up everywhere in tech and sports brand campaigns right now. The swing, the bounce, the elasticity, it communicates movement and efficiency without feeling super chaotic. And it wins because it serves the clear O in the j.o.b.s framework, which stands for objective. It feels fast, smooth, and frictionless. Tech brands are selling speed or convenience. Sports brands are selling high performance, and Speed Garage does that both without making you feel really anxious. So here's the move when you're making this kind of music. Make sure you're keeping the bass super elastic. That's why I noticed in some of the commercials. Make sure there's no clutter, and obviously the bounce has got to be there. When brands need to communicate speed without stress, Speed Garage is definitely going to be the call. Again, this is all based off of data that I found in the commercials or in the download report. So now we've covered 2 jobs. You got Afro House creating your space for luxury. Then Speed Garage is going to give you that momentum for tech and sports brands that makes their products feel exciting, right? But But what about brands that aren't just selling the future? Think about insurance companies that you see on Super Bowl ads, family restaurants, brands that need to feel safe. When the world's in a huge place of uncertainty, speed becomes a liability because if you move too fast, you can end up losing customers. That's why some brands default to familiarity instead. When you're hungry, but you're in a different city, maybe you're out traveling, you don't just gamble on a new place all the time. Especially if you're tired, you just pick something that feels familiar. That's how many brands think under pressure, especially if they're in the entertainment industry. This is why genres like soul and country have been dominating the market for a very, very long time. Familiar chords, familiar instruments, familiar emotional arcs. I actually spoke to the NFL's music supervisor a few months ago and asked him exactly why this keeps working in our private community. And he told us that this is what brands actually trust when they can't afford to take risks. That's the kind of insight that most producers never get access to. But it's exactly what you need to understand if you want to position your music correctly. Soul and country win because they protect the brand. They don't give a huge surprise. They're not very polarizing. They make everyone in the boardroom feel safe and on the other side of the TV screen. Insurance companies, family products, heritage brands, they're not trying to sell innovation. They're selling trust. So here's the move when you're making music for this genre. If you're writing lyrics, make sure that you're writing about home, feeling resilient, continuity, unity. Keep it super simple and let the emotion do all the work. But what happens if the brand wants to take risks or make a statement that's based off of local or national trends right now? Here's the uncomfortable truth about the last genre that's the most important, that covers all of these things. You can understand space, objective, and brand safety like we talked about earlier and still lose, because none of these really matter if you don't know what your job is, which is the J, which is the first and foremost. Think about how brands actually hire for anything else. When a pipe bursts, they call a plumber. When they need hardwood floors, they call a carpenter. They don't call someone who just dabbles in a little bit of everything. Brands think the same way when it comes to music. It's to either help tell a story or sell a product. That's it. And the best genre for that isn't Afro house, speed garage, soul, or country music. The best genre for sync to get your music into TV and film is the one that you specialize in. A brand that needs space doesn't just want Afro house as the sole thing. They want a producer or a indie artist that is known for Afro house. The goal is to build a catalog around it so that you're the one that owns that sound. Your signature sound defines your job, not your style or your versatility. Oh, I can do everything. That's actually a pet peeve of most supervisors and decision makers. They want someone that delivers under pressure consistently. So when a brand has only 48 hours to deliver for a campaign and they need Afro house, they're not experimenting. They're calling the producer that's done 1,000 times, and they'll pay through the nose to get that problem solved fast. So you need to make sure you follow this framework. Make sure it covers your job, which is your personal sound, covers the objective of the brand, gives them safety and space. Your signature sound should be able to solve all four. And when it does, your likelihood of placements go up through the roof. The producer who owns Afro House can deliver for a space in luxury brands, being able to communicate the objective for a lifestyle campaign, can provide brand safety for a heritage product, and fulfill the job when someone needs that exact sound. It solves multiple different problems. That's how you win and get more placements. Pick the lane you do best. That's the best genre for TV and film. Build the catalog, get professional feedback, and then ship it out with certainty. But knowing that only makes up half the battle. If you hesitate when a supervisor asks you what kind of music you make, you've already failed. And if you want to learn the identity formula that I personally use to define my signature sound that most music creators fail to do, watch this video next.